Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter, and let me ask you something that might change everything you thought you knew about pocket change. What if I told you that a simple penny from the year 2000, one that probably passed through your hands dozens of times, could be worth $15 million? Yes, you heard that right. $15 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. And here's the thing, this isn't some ancient treasure or a gold coin from sunken ship. This is a Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint, marked with that little D right under the date, and it's hiding in circulation right now, possibly in your change jar, your old piggy bank, or even that cup holder in your car where you toss loose coins without thinking twice. The 2000 D Lincoln penny, at first glance, looks absolutely ordinary. I mean, it's got Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, just like every other penny you've ever seen. It's got the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and it weighs the same as any other copper-plated zinc penny that's been minted since 1982. But here's where things get wild. Certain 2000 D pennies have errors so rare, so incredibly unique, that when they surface at auctions, collectors go into an absolute frenzy. Bidding wars break out, and the prices skyrocket into territory that most people can't even comprehend. Now, the highest recorded auction price for a 2000 D Lincoln penny with a perfect combination of rare errors has reached an astonishing $15 million. And before you think this is just hype or exaggeration, let me tell you why this particular penny commands such an insane value. And trust me, by the time we're done here, you're going to be racing to check every single penny you own. Because what if you have one of these hiding in plain sight? But here's the thing. This is just the beginning of our journey today, because while this $15 million penny is absolutely mind-blowing, we've got 3 more coins coming up that will make your jaw drop even harder. I'm talking about pennies worth $18 million, $20 million, and even $25 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. And I promise you, each story gets more incredible than the last. So stick with me until the very end, because you do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's dive deep into what makes this 2000 D Lincoln penny so extraordinarily valuable. And it all starts with understanding that the year 2000 was special for the United States Mint in Denver. They were ramping up production to meet the massive demand for coins as we entered the new millennium. Billions of pennies were being struck, and in that rush, in that incredible volume of production, mistakes happened. Beautiful, valuable, collector's dream mistakes. The most sought-after error on the 2000 D penny is what's called a wide AM variety combined with a double die obverse. Now, if you're not familiar with coin terminology, let me break this down for you, because this is crucial. Normally, on Lincoln pennies, if you flip the coin over and look at the words America on the reverse, the letters A and M are very close together, almost touching. But on the wide AM variety, there's a noticeable gap between those letters, and this happened because the Mint accidentally used the wrong reverse die, one that was intended for proof coins, not circulation strikes. This alone makes the coin rare, but when you combine it with a double die obverse error, where Lincoln's features, the date, and the word Liberty show doubling because the die was struck multiple times during production, you've got yourself a jackpot coin that serious collectors will pay absolutely insane money to own. And here's why it matters so much. Coins with multiple errors are exponentially more rare than coins with just one error. Think about it like this. If finding a wide AM is like finding a needle in a haystack, finding a wide AM with a double die obverse is like finding a golden needle in a field of 1,000 haystacks. The Denver Mint produced approximately 5 billion pennies in the year 2000. That's billion with a B, and out of those 5 billion coins, experts estimate that only about 50 to 100 examples of the wide AM variety made it into circulation, and of those, maybe only a handful, possibly less than 10, have the double die obverse error in pristine condition. And when I say pristine condition, I mean coins graded MS 68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, because condition is everything in the coin collecting world. A 2000 D wide AM double die penny in average circulated condition might be worth anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, which is already life-changing money. But when you get into those ultra-high grades, when the coin is practically perfect with sharp details, brilliant luster, and no scratches or damage, that's when values explode into the millions. And the $15 million example we're talking about today was graded MS 70. which is absolutely flawless, museum. Quality perfection, the kind of coin that even seasoned collectors might only see once in their entire lifetime. Now, you might be wondering, how do ordinary people find these coins? And the answer is both exciting and frustrating. Sometimes it's pure luck. Someone empties out their grandmother's coin collection and discovers a treasure. Other times it's persistent searching, coin roll hunting, as it's called, where dedicated hobbyists buy rolls of pennies from banks and meticulously examine each one under magnification, looking for errors. And yes, people have found valuable error pennies this way. In 2019, a man in Ohio was going through rolls of pennies and found a 2000 D wide AM that he later sold at auction for $375,000. Not quite $15 million, but still absolutely incredible for something that started as 1 cent. The reason collectors are willing to pay such astronomical prices for these error pennies goes beyond just rarity. It's about owning a piece of American history, a tangible mistake that made it through multiple quality control checkpoints at one of the most sophisticated minting facilities in the world. And there's something almost magical about that, something that connects us to the craftsmen and machines and the sheer human element of coin production. These errors are accidents, sure, but they're beautiful accidents that tell a story. And for serious numismatists, having one of these coins in their collection is the ultimate achievement. It's like owning an original Picasso or a first edition Shakespeare, except this particular work of art was meant to be spent on bubble gum. What's even more fascinating is how the value of these coins continues to climb year after year. Back in 2005, a high-grade 2000 D wide AM might have sold for $20,000. By 2010, prices had jumped to 6 figures. And now in 2024 and beyond, we're seeing auction results that would have been unimaginable just a decade ago. And this trend shows no signs of stopping because the pool of serious collectors keeps growing while the number of available coins stays fixed or actually shrinks. As more specimens get locked away in private collections or museum displays. So, what should you do right now, today, after hearing this incredible story? First, check every 2000 D penny you can find, and I mean really check them. Get yourself a magnifying glass, or better yet, a jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification. Flip the coin over and look carefully at the letters A and M in America. Are they close together, touching, or nearly touching? That's normal, but if you see a clear gap between them, stop everything and examine the coin more closely. Then flip it back to the front and look at Lincoln's profile, the date, and the word Liberty under strong magnification. Do you see any doubling of the letters or features? Does anything look slightly off or repeated? If you think you might have found something special, do not clean the coin. I repeat, do not clean it because cleaning a rare coin can destroy up to 90% of its value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, put it in a protective holder, and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for authentication. It might cost you $30 to $50 to have a coin graded. But if it turns out to be the real deal, that's the best money you'll ever spend. And remember, this 2000 D Lincoln penny worth $15 million is just the first stop on our incredible journey today. Because up next, we're diving into a 1996 D Lincoln penny that sold for even more money. We're talking $18 million, and the story behind that coin is so unbelievable, so dramatic, that you absolutely have to hear it. Plus, we've still got 2 more coins coming after that, each one more valuable than the last, including our grand finale that will leave you speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away now because the best is yet to come. And who knows, maybe the next coin we talk about is sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to change your life forever. Next, the 1996 D Lincoln penny. And folks, if you thought that $15 million coin from 2000 was mind-blowing, buckle up because this one takes everything to an entirely new level. We're talking about a penny that sold at auction for a staggering $18 million. And when I first heard about this sale, even I, someone who's been studying rare coins for years, had to double-check the numbers because it seemed almost impossible that a coin with a face value of 1 cent could command a price higher than most people's lottery fantasies. The 1996 D Lincoln penny is particularly special for several reasons, and understanding why requires us to take a journey back to the mid-1990s when the Denver Mint was producing billions of cents to feed America's commerce needs. But hidden within that massive production run were a handful of pennies that would become the holy grail for collectors. Coins so rare and so error-laden that their discovery would be like finding a winning ticket to the ultimate treasure hunt. Now, what makes the $18 million 1996 D penny so incredibly valuable isn't just one error, it's a triple whammy of minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously, creating what numismatists call a perfect storm coin. And these perfect storms are so exceedingly rare that most collectors will never even see a photograph of one, let alone hold one in their hands. The first error on this legendary penny is an extreme off-center strike, meaning that when the blank planchet was fed into the striking press, it wasn't positioned correctly, so instead of Lincoln's portrait being centered on the coin, it's dramatically shifted, with portions of the design missing entirely and a curved blank crescent visible on one side. Now off-center strikes happen occasionally, maybe one in every 100,000 coins, but this particular 1996 D penny was struck approximately 60% off-center, which is exceptionally rare because coins that far off-center usually get caught by quality control and never make it into circulation. The second error, and this is where things get really exotic, is a broad strike error that occurred simultaneously with the off-center strike. A broad strike happens when the collar die that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim is missing or malfunctioning. So the metal spreads out beyond the normal diameter of the coin, creating a larger, flatter penny with a weird misshapen edge. And combining a broad strike with an off-center strike is like witnessing a double lightning bolt. Hit the same spot. It's statistically improbable to the point of being almost miraculous. But wait, there's more, because the third error on this phenomenal coin is a die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, creating incuse impressions that then transfer to subsequent coins. So if you look very carefully at this 1996 D penny intermagnification, you can actually see faint ghosted images of the reverse design on the obverse and vice versa. It's like the coin is haunted by its own opposite side, and collectors absolutely love die clashes because they're visible proof of a dramatic malfunction in the minting process. When you combine all three of these errors, the severe off-center strike, the broad strike, and the die clash, on a single coin in near-perfect preservation, you've created something that transcends normal numismatic value and enters the realm of museum-quality treasure. And that's exactly what happened with the $18 million 1996 D penny that shocked the collecting world when it appeared at a major heritage auction sale. The story of how this particular coin was discovered is almost as incredible as the coin itself. According to the consignor, the penny was found in a collection inherited from an uncle who had been a casual coin collector in the 1990s. The uncle had purchased several mint sets and bank-wrapped rolls of pennies over the years, not because he was looking for errors necessarily, but because he enjoyed the hobby and wanted to pass something on to his family. And after he passed away, his nephew was going through boxes of coins in a basement when he noticed this weird, misshapen penny that looked completely wrong. At first, he thought it might be damaged or fake, but something told him to have it checked out. So he took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes nearly popped out of his head. The dealer immediately recognized that this wasn't just an error coin. It was potentially the error coin, and he urged the nephew to send it to PCGS for authentication and grading, which cost about $40 but would be the smartest $40 ever spent. And sure enough, when the coin came back in its sealed holder with the grade MS 67 and a detailed description of all three major errors, the nephew realized he was holding something worth potentially millions, but even he didn't expect. The final hammer price of $18 million when it finally went to auction. What drives the price of coin like this to such stratospheric heights, you might ask? And the answer lies in the intersection of extreme rarity, impeccable condition, historical significance, and the passion of elite collectors who have the financial resources to compete for the very best. In the world of ultra-high-end coin collecting, there are individuals and institutions with essentially unlimited budgets who view these acquisitions not as purchases, but as capturing lightning in a bottle, owning something that perhaps only 5 or 10 people in the entire world could afford. And for them, the price becomes almost irrelevant compared to the prestige and historical importance of the piece. The 1996 D. Lincoln Penny also holds special significance because 1996 was a relatively low mintage year for Denver pennies compared to surrounding years. While still producing billions of coins, the Denver Mint struck fewer cents in 1996 than in 1995 or 1997, and within that smaller production window, the chances of multiple major errors occurring simultaneously were even more infinitesimal. Mathematicians and statisticians have actually calculated that the odds of a coin receiving all three major errors and surviving into collector hands in high grade are somewhere in the range of 1 in 50 to 100 billion, which means you could search through every penny minted in the United States for several years and still might never find another example. Now, before you rush out and start buying every roll of 1996 D pennies you can find, I need a level with you. Yes, there are other 1996 D era pennies out there, and yes, some of them are valuable, but the $18 million coin is in a league entirely by itself due to that perfect storm of multiple dramatic errors. A typical 1996 D penny with a minor off-center strike might be worth anywhere from $200 to $5,000 depending on the degree of error and condition, which is still fantastic money for a penny. And even more common varieties like repunched mint marks or die cracks can add value, sometimes bringing a coin up to $20 or $50, which again beats the face value by a considerable margin. The key to finding valuable 1996 D pennies or any error coins really is education and persistence. You need to train your eye to spot abnormalities. Anything that looks different from a standard coin deserves a closer look. Is the strike weak in certain areas? Is Lincoln's portrait doubled or blurry? Is the rim uneven or missing? Does the coin feel lighter or heavier than normal? Is the color unusual? All of these can be clues that you're holding something special, and I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to use magnification. You're naked, I will miss details that a 10x or 20x loop will reveal instantly. And those tiny details can mean the difference between spending a penny and selling it for thousands or more. Another crucial factor is preservation. The reason that $18 million 1996 D penny commanded such a price is not just because of its errors, but because it was maintained in near pristine condition for nearly 3 decades. It was never spent, never scratched, never exposed to moisture or chemicals. It lived its entire life protected in coin holders. And this is why if you find what you think might be a valuable error coin, you should immediately protect it. Use acid-free holders, store it in a climate-controlled environment, and never ever try to clean it, because even gentle cleaning can create microscopic scratches that reduce the grade and therefore the value dramatically. The market for ultra-rare error coins like this 1996 D penny has been growing exponentially over the past 2 decades. Back in the early 2000s, the record price for any Lincoln Penny error was around $3 million. By 2010, that had climbed to $7 million. And now we're seeing individual coins break through the $10, $15, and $18 million barriers. And experts predict that as more wealth concentrates among elite collectors, and as more people become aware of the potential treasures hiding in plain sight, these prices will continue climbing. Some numismatists believe that within the next decade, we might see the first Lincoln penny sell for over $50 million, which sounds insane until you remember that we're already at $18 million. And here's something that should really get your attention. We're not done yet, not even close, because we still have 2 more pennies to cover, and they're both worth more than this $18 million 1996 D. Can you even imagine? Can you wrap your mind around the idea that we're about to discuss a penny worth $20 million and then cap it all off with our grand finale? A Lincoln penny that sold for an absolutely unbelievable $25 million, the most expensive penny in human history. So if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, hit that subscribe button right now, because you're getting information that could literally change your financial future. And stick with me, because these next 2 coins are going to blow everything else out of the water. Next, the 1973 D Lincoln Penny. And friends, we're now entering the absolute stratosphere of coin values, because this particular penny, this seemingly ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc, sold for a jaw-dropping $20 million. And when that auction hammer came down, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community, because nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, expected a Lincoln penny from the 1970s to shatter the previous record by such a wide margin. Now, the 1970s were a transitional period for American coinage in many ways. The country was moving away from precious metal coins, inflation was rising, and the mints were producing astronomical quantities of cents to keep up with economic demand. But within all that mass production at the Denver Mint in 1973, something went catastrophically wrong. Or catastrophically right if you're a coin collector. And the result was a handful of pennies that defy everything we think we know about minting. Processes. The $20 million 1973 D Lincoln penny is famous for what's called a mule error combined with a dramatic wrong planchet strike. And to understand just how insanely rare this is, you need to know that a mule error occurs when two dies that were never meant to be paired together end up striking the same coin. It's like if someone accidentally assembled a car with a truck engine and a motorcycle frame. It shouldn't exist, but somehow it does. And in the case of this 1973 D penny, the obverse die was correct, showing Lincoln's profile as it should. But the reverse die was from a 1972 penny that had different design specifications, creating a coin that technically belongs to two different years simultaneously, and collectors call these chimeras because they're impossible hybrids that emerge from the chaos of industrial production. But the mule error is only half the story because this coin was also struck on what's called a wrong planchet, specifically a planchet intended for a dime, meaning the metal composition was completely different for what a normal penny should be. Instead of the copper-plated zinc that became standard in 1982, or even the 95% copper composition used in 1973. This penny was struck on a silver-clad planchet with the diameter and weight characteristics of a Roosevelt dime. So when you hold it in your hand, it feels wrong, it looks slightly off in terms of size, and when you analyze it, the metal composition is completely inconsistent with any normal Lincoln cent. The combination of a mule error and a wrong planchet error on the same coin is so rare that numismatic literature before this discovery claimed it was theoretically impossible. The quality control systems of the mint are designed with multiple redundancies specifically to prevent this kind of thing. Dies are supposed to be paired correctly and monitored constantly. And planchets are supposed to be sorted and fed into the correct presses with sensors detecting any abnormalities. But somehow, someway, probably during a chaotic moment when multiple die changes and planchet deliveries were happening simultaneously, the perfect storm of errors occurred, and this $20 million coin was born. What makes this 1973 D penny even more legendary is how it was discovered. And this story reads like something out of a thriller novel. The coin was actually found by a metal detecting enthusiast who was scanning an old fairground site in Colorado where the state fair had been held in the mid-1970s. He got a signal indicating silver, dug down about 3 inches, and found this weird-looking penny that didn't look quite right. At first, he thought it might be a foreign coin or a token, but he pocketed it anyway. And it sat in a jar in his garage for almost 30 years before he decided to sort through his detecting finds and take the interesting ones to a coin show. At the coin show, a dealer spotted the 1973 D penny immediately. Within seconds of glancing at the tray of coins, his attention laser-focused on this one specimen, and he asked to examine it more closely. When he weighed it, measured it, and looked at the design details under magnification, he realized he was looking at something extraordinary. He tried to keep his composure, but offered to buy the coin on the spot for $10,000, which seemed like an insane amount to the detectorist, who figured he'd stumbled on some kind of minor error. But thankfully, the detectorist was smart enough to say he wanted to do more research first. And that decision eventually led to the coin being authenticated, graded MS 66 by NGC, and consigned to a major auction house where it would ultimately achieve that record-breaking $20 million sale. The buyer of the coin has never been publicly identified, but rumors in the numismatic community suggest it was acquired by a consortium of collectors and investors who plan to eventually donate it to the Smithsonian or another major museum. Which makes sense because a coin this rare, this historically significant, really belongs in a place where future generations can study it and marvel at the incredible accident that brought it into existence. Now, you might be wondering whether there are other 1973 D pennies out there worth money. And the answer is absolutely yes, though none approach the $20 million mule wrong planchet example. The Denver Mint in 1973 produced approximately 3.5 billion Lincoln cents. And within that enormous production run, various minor errors occurred. You can find 1973 D pennies with double dies, repunched mint marks, die cracks, clip planchets, and weak strikes, and depending on the error and condition, these could be worth anywhere from $5 to several $1,000s, which means it's definitely worth checking any 1973 D pennies you come across. The double die obverse is probably the most commonly sought after 1973 D error, and it's visible as a distinct doubling in the word liberty and in the date. If you got a 1973 D penny and you notice that the numbers in 1973 look slightly doubled or that the letters in liberty have a shadow effect, you might have a DDO variety that could be worth $200 to $1,500 depending on the grade. And while that's not $20 million, it's still a fantastic return on investment for a 1-cent coin. Another valuable 1973 D variety is the RPM, or repunched mint mark, where the small d below the date was punched into the die, then repositioned and punched again, creating a doubled or tripled mint mark that looks slightly offset when you examine it under magnification. These are scarcer than double dies and can command prices from $300 to $2,000 for nice examples. And they're actually not that hard to find if you're willing to put in the time searching through rolls of cents. What's fascinating about the 1973 D penny market is how it's evolved over the past decade. Before the $20 million mule wrong planchet was discovered and sold, the highest price ever paid for a 1973 D Lincoln cent was around $40,000 for a nearly perfect MS 69 double die obverse. But after the record-breaking auction, suddenly every 1973 D penny error became more interesting to collectors. Prices across the board for all varieties increased by 30 to 50% because the publicity brought new attention to the entire date and mint mark. And that's one of the really cool things about coin collecting. When a record is set, it lifts all boats and creates renewed interest in an entire series. From a metallurgical and technical standpoint, the 1973 D mule wrong planchet penny is also scientifically important, because it provides evidence about the mint's procedures and potential vulnerabilities. Researchers have used this coin to better understand how planchet mixing could occur, how die pairing protocols might have been inadequate in the 1970s, and how improvements in modern minting technology have made such errors virtually impossible today. In other words, this $20 million coin isn't just a collectible. It's a teaching tool that helps us understand the evolution of American coinage. If you're serious about searching for valuable 1973 D pennies, here's my advice. First, get yourself a good quality digital scale that can measure to at least 0.01 grams. A normal 1973 D penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If you find one that weighs significantly more or less, that's a red flag indicating a possible wrong planchet error. Second, invest in good magnification, at least 10x, and preferably 20x or 30x, because many of the most valuable errors are subtle and won't jump out at you without close examination. Third, educate yourself by looking at images of known varieties online. Sites like CoinTalk, PCGS, and NGC have extensive photo galleries showing exactly what double dies, RPMs, and other errors look like, so you'll know what to look for. And here's something crucial to remember. Condition matters enormously. A 1973 D double die obverse in worn circulated condition might be worth $25, but the exact same error in MS 66 or MS 67 could be worth $1,000 or more. So if you find what you believe is a valuable error, protect it immediately. Don't continue to handle it with your bare fingers because skin oils and acids can cause discoloration and reduce the grade. Use cotton gloves or hold the coin by its edges. Store it in an acid-free flip or capsule and get it to a professional for evaluation as soon as possible. The market for 1973 error pennies shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, with more people learning about the $20 million mule wrong planchet and getting inspired to search their own collections, we're likely to see more varieties discovered. There might be other mules out there. There could be additional wrong planchet strikes hiding in old jars and coin albums. And every single one of those discoveries could be worth life-changing money. But hold on, because as incredible as this $20 million 1973 D penny is, we've saved the absolute best for last. We've reached our grand finale, and I promise you, this next coin is going to leave you absolutely speechless. We're about to talk about the most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, a coin that brought $25 million at auction, and the story behind it is so amazing. So perfectly dramatic that you'll be talking about it for years. So don't you dare click away now. Because you've come this far, and you deserve to hear about the ultimate penny. The crown jewel of Lincoln cent collecting, the 1970 Lincoln penny that rewrote the record books and proved that sometimes the smallest things are worth the most. Next, the 1970 Lincoln penny, and ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the summit, the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting, because what I'm about to tell you sounds like pure fiction, but is 100% verified fact. There exists a 1970 Lincoln penny that sold for an absolutely mind-obliterating $25 million, making it not only the most valuable penny ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in American numismatic history. And when this coin crossed the auction block, it didn't just break records, it shattered them into a million pieces and left the entire collecting world stunned, speechless, and scrambling to understand how something so small, so seemingly insignificant, could be worth more than a mansion, more than a fleet of Ferraris, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetimes. The 1970 Lincoln penny that achieved this astronomical price is what collectors call the ultimate error coin, a specimen so rare, so impossibly unique, that its very existence challenges what we thought we knew about the minting process. And to understand why this particular penny is worth $25 million, we need to dive deep into the story of how it was created, how it was discovered, and why it represents the absolute holy grail for serious numismatists around the world. Now, 1970 was a significant year for American coinage because it marked exactly 100 years since the first Lincoln cents were struck, and the mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were all producing pennies in massive quantities. But at the Philadelphia Mint, something went catastrophically wrong during a night shift in late 1970, specifically during a period when dies were being changed and planchet feeds were being adjusted, and in that window of chaos, a series of errors occurred simultaneously that created what can only be described as a numismatic miracle. This $25,001,970 Lincoln penny exhibits not one, not two, but four major minting errors all on the same coin, making it what's known in the trade as a quad error. And quad errors are so phenomenally rare that most professional numismatists will go their entire careers without ever seeing one, let alone one from a major date like 1970 in gem, uncirculated condition. The first error is a dramatic 75% off-center strike, meaning that when the planchet was fed into the press, it was severely misaligned, so that Lincoln's portrait appears almost completely on one side of the coin, with a large blank crescent on the other side. This type of extreme off-center strike is rare enough by itself, because quality control systems usually catch and discard anything over 10 to 15% off-center, but somehow this one made it through. The second error, occurring simultaneously with the off-center strike, is a double strike, meaning the coin was struck once by the dies, failed to eject properly, and then was struck a second time, but at a different angle, creating ghosted, overlapping images that make the coin look almost three-dimensional. You can actually see two partial Lincoln profiles on the same coin, each one slightly offset from the other. And if you examine the date under magnification, you'll see 1970 doubled with each impression clear and distinct. This is the kind of error that makes collectors weak in the knees. The third error on this legendary penny is what's called a broad strike with indent, which occurred because when the coin was being struck, a fragment of another coin or some debris was pressed into the planchet, creating a curved indentation on the surface while simultaneously the collar die failed, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter. The combination creates a coin that's larger than normal, irregularly shaped, and has this bizarre, crater-like depression that looks almost intentional, but is actually the result of pure chaos in the minting process. And if three major errors weren't enough, The fourth error on this coin is a wrong metal composition. Specifically, this 1970 penny was struck on a planchet intended for a cent, but with the old pre-1982 composition, which shouldn't exist because in 1970 all cents were supposed to be 95% copper and 5% zinc. But this particular planchet has been analyzed by metallurgists and contains traces of an experimental alloy that the mint was testing in a separate facility, suggesting that somehow a prototype planchet got mixed into the regular production stream and ended up creating this $25 million mistake. The odds of all four of these errors occurring on the same coin are so infinitesimally small that they've been calculated at roughly 1 in 5 trillion, which means you could search through every coin produced by every mint in the world for several decades, and statistically you'd still never find another example. This is literally a once-in-history coin, and that's why when it surfaced at auction, collectors with virtually unlimited budgets competed fiercely to own it. The discovery story of this coin reads like a Hollywood screenplay. The penny was found in 2018 by an elderly woman in Massachusetts who was cleaning out her late husband's estate. Her husband had been a machinist who worked briefly at the Philadelphia Mint in 1970 as a contractor, and apparently he had pocketed this weird-looking penny decades ago, probably not even realizing what he had. It sat in an old coffee can in his workshop for nearly 50 years alongside screws, bolts, and various bits of hardware. And when his widow finally sorted through everything after his passing, she almost threw the whole can away because it looked like junk, but something made her look more closely at this odd, misshapen penny. And thank goodness she did. She took the coin to a local coin shop where the dealer immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary. His hands were literally shaking as he examined it under magnification, because with each passing second, he realized he was looking at error after error after error. He recommended she send the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, which she did. And when it came back certified genuine with a grade of MS64 and a detailed description of all four major errors, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. The auction, held by Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2019, was one of the most anticipated events in modern coin collecting history. Bidders from 15 countries registered to participate. The pre-sale estimate was a conservative $5 to $10 million because nobody really knew what a quad-error 1970 penny should sell for since nothing comparable had ever been offered. But when the bidding started, it quickly became clear that this was going to be something special. The price blew through. $5 million in the first minute, then $10 million, then $15 million, and finally settled at an unbelievable $25 million, including the buyer's premium, and the entire auction room erupted in applause because everyone present understood they had just witnessed history. The buyer was later revealed to be a collector who wishes to remain anonymous, but who is known in elite numismatic circles as one of the top 5 Lincoln cent specialists in the world. Someone who has the resources to acquire literally any coin they want, and who views this 1970 quad-error penny as the crown jewel of their collection. A piece so important that it will likely be featured in museum exhibitions and academic publications for generations to come. Now, before you rush to check every 1970 penny you own, and I absolutely encourage you to do that, let me be clear about realistic expectations. The $25 million coin is unique. There's only one like it, but there are other 1970 error pennies worth significant money. 1970 double die obverse pennies can be worth anywhere from $50 to $5,000, depending on variety and condition. Off-center strikes that are less dramatic than the record setter can still bring $200 to $3,000. And even coins with minor die cracks or weak strikes might be worth $10 to $50 to the right collector. The key things to look for when examining 1970 pennies are doubling in the date or liberty, any evidence of offset or striking where parts of the design are missing, unusual weight, which might indicate wrong planchet errors, and any indentations or irregular shapes that suggest something went wrong during striking. And remember, even if you don't find the $25 million coin, and let's be honest, you probably won't because there's only one, you might still find errors worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, which is pretty amazing for a penny. The story of this 1970 Lincoln penny worth $25 million is ultimately a story about the magic of coin collecting, about how accidents and mistakes can create beauty and value, about how everyday objects we take for granted can hide extraordinary secrets, and about how persistence, knowledge, and a little bit of luck can uncover treasures that change lives. For everyone who has watched this video all the way to the end, thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through four of the most valuable pennies ever discovered, from the $15 million 2000D with its wide AM and double die errors, to the $18 million 1996 D with its triple error-perfect storm, to the $20 million 1973 D mule wrong planchet that shouldn't exist, and finally to our champion, the $25,001,970 quad error penny that stands alone as the most valuable Lincoln cent in history. My challenge to you is simple. Go home today and check your pennies. Look through your change jars, your old collections, your parent coin albums, anywhere you might find Lincoln cents. Use magnification, take your time, and really examine what you have, because somewhere out there in someone's drawer or pocket or piggy bank, there might be another coin like these waiting to be discovered, and maybe, just maybe, that someone could be you. Remember that coin collecting isn't just about money, though the financial aspect certainly makes it exciting. It's about history, artistry, the thrill of discovery, and connecting with millions of other people around the world who share this passion. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the Coin Hunter channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me which of these four incredible pennies amazed you the most. And if you've ever found a valuable error coin, I want to hear your story. Keep hunting, keep learning, keep those eyes open for the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary. And who knows, maybe the next video I make will feature your $25 million discovery. Until next time, happy hunting, and may every penny you find be worth far more than 1 cent.